Today is a beautiful day in Santander. The 3rd of November, 1893. They say there are no cursed ships, only men who do not listen, but that day no one listened. The 3rd of November, 1893. In Santander, the dock did not listen, and after that it never spoke again. A steamship called Cabo Machichaco slips quietly into Santander. A bearer of a foretold tragedy, it is not a monster of war, nor a ship of conquest. It is a cargo ship, just another one, or at least that is what they thought. It was built in Newcastle 11 years earlier. Iron hull, double propeller, 78 meters long, British machinery, owned by a shipping company, but sailing under the Spanish flag. It runs the route Bilbao, Santander, Seville, mechanical routine, repetitive, without surprises. But this is not a routine voyage. This is a voyage with a deadly cargo. 1,712 crates of dynamite, 12,000 kilograms of sulfuric acid, all of it disguised beneath sacks of flour, iron coils, and machinery. Legal on paper, deadly in reality. Neither the dockworkers nor the sailors know exactly what they are carrying, or they know and remain silent. There is nothing more pleasant than the sea breeze, and nothing more dangerous than ignorance. Before arriving in Santander, the Machichaco is forced to remain under quarantine on Pedrosa Island. Fear of cholera. The days pass, the tension grows. The captain insists, "I have a schedule to keep. Either you allow me to unload or there will be consequences." The authorities give in. No one checks the contents of the holds. On the 3rd of November, 1893, at 8 o'clock in the morning, the steamship docks at Pier No. 1 in the port of Santander opposite Cachabas Square. Friday, clear skies. Seagulls, church bells, wooden carts rattle over the cobblestones. The city is still asleep, unaware. Hell has already dropped anchor. Some men unload cargo, others smoke on the corner. Some stevedores eye the ship with suspicion. In the air there is an acidic smell, dampness, something different, dense, sticky. They say the ship is loaded but not with wheat, and when it smells of gunpowder, you know. The Machichaco looks like a sleeping giant, with a solid but low hull. On deck in hold number 2, tons of dynamite lie poorly stored. Directly above them are the drums of sulfuric acid. A single drop can be enough. That is all fate needs. A moment of carelessness, just an instant. Shortly after midday the acid begins to spill. No one knows how. It seeps through the wood of the hull. It begins to boil, to corrode, to release gases. Minutes later white smoke appears, thick, chemical, viscous. It rises from the bow like a signal. The sailors try to put out the fire. They use water pumps. The firefighters from the Atolfo Argenta station are called. The news spreads like wildfire. Fire in the harbor. There is a fire on one of the ships. Everyone, come. Neighbors head down toward the docks. Whispers turn into shouts. Curious onlookers, merchants, mothers with children, soldiers on leave. Everyone wants to see the smoke. What a spectacle. Something like this rarely happens in Santander. Local authorities also arrive. The lieutenant colonel of the Valencia regiment, the mayor, even the civil governor. They think it is just a small fire. No one knows, not even the firefighters, that beneath their boots a dragon is sleeping, nitroglycerin. They have been fighting the fire for hours now, but it does not weaken. The crew is exhausted. The smoke does not stop. The acid keeps dripping, the wood cracks, the drums creak, the heat rises, and meanwhile the entire harbor watches, as one watches a circus. People do not move. They think everything will end as it always does. Fire, buckets, laughter, and done. But not this time. This time death is waiting for a signal. What is happening here, ma'am? They say it is a fire, but I have never seen the air burn like this. People move closer. The Machichaco does not know it, but it is minutes away from turning into ashes, and with it a large part of Santander. On board the Cabo Machichaco, the fire has already won. The buckets are useless. The pumps cannot cope. The smoke is no longer just smoke. It is a white snake, thick, poisonous. In hold number 2, the heat wraps around the dynamite like an invisible fuse. On the ground, the firefighters are gasping for air. Soldiers hold the hoses. Curious passers-by push and shove, trying to see better. What is down there? They tell us nothing, but the smoke does not lie. In the afternoon, the roar arrives. It is not a sound. It is a tearing apart. The Cabo Machichaco splits open like wet paper. A wave of fire, iron, and fury sweeps over the pier, the square, and half of Santander. Beams weighing hundreds of kilograms fly through the air. Some sail across the harbor. Others crash into houses. The sky, blue that morning, is now black. Then comes silence, only for a second, and then the scream. Survivors emerge from the rubble, unable to understand what has happened or why they are still alive. Bodies are everywhere. fire, blood, bricks, a rain of debris. A decapitated horse lies in the middle of the square. The authorities die instantly. The mayor of Santander, the civil governor, several councillors, the head of the fire brigade, all are swept away in seconds. Sailors die, soldiers die, workers, mothers, shopkeepers, hundreds of victims. Official counts speak of 590 dead, although many bodies are never found. Everything disappears in an instant as if it had never existed. The shockwave is heard even in Torrelavega, dozens of kilometers away. Windows shatter miles from the blast. The sea itself pulls back for a moment, as if the Cantabrian Sea were also afraid. Cochabamba Square is wiped off the map. Houses are wooden skeletons, trees are pillars of ash, the harbor is mutilated. Santander is no longer a city, it is a stone crater and boiling water, a postcard from hell. And among the ruins, no one knows exactly what happened. Only one thing is known: everything has changed. The pier is still burning when the tributes, liturgies, and donations begin. There are speeches, but they all sound empty. The city does not want words, it wants justice, and it does not receive it. Santander rises again, as it has always done throughout the centuries. But nothing is the same anymore. The explosion changes the soul of the city. It leaves behind a wound that never fully heals. Among the ruins, a fragment of the Machichaco's hull can still be seen, rusted, silent. Like a grimace from hell, no one dares to touch it, it still hurts. 4 months pass after that fateful day. But this is not the end. In the months following the explosion, Santander continues clearing rubble. The dead are buried, the harbor is repaired, the streets are rebuilt, life seems to return. But the ship is still there under the water, rusted, latent. A silent shell filled with shrapnel, unexploded dynamite, rust, and ghosts. And someone decides that it is time to remove it. March 1894. The cold still seeps into the bones. A group of workers and port technicians begins the dismantling. Welders, divers, shipwright carpenters. No one has clear information, there are only orders. The government states that no dangerous cargo remains, that work can proceed without fear, that it is safe. They are lying. As they cut into the hull, an intact crate of dynamite is discovered. On the 21st of March, during the dismantling, a second explosion shakes the harbor, not as powerful, but just as cruel. 15 workers are killed. Again smoke, again flames, again silence. They tell us that nothing was left, nothing. That is a lie. 18 men went in, 3 came out. There are no honors, no statues, no flags. These men die like the first ones did, because of ignorance or greed. No one answers, no one resigns, no one stands before a court. The city absorbs everything and moves on. The remains of the Machichaco are finally dismantled. What cannot be removed stays there, at the bottom of the dock, beneath tons of cement, forgetfulness, and silence. But something remains afloat, something that does not rust: memory. Every 3rd of November, at the exact moment of the explosion, flowers are thrown into the water. Silence is observed. Names are spoken. A simple monolith is erected, without marble, without gold, in a place that is no longer a square but a scar. I do not want revenge, only memory, because what is forgotten repeats itself. Few remember what happened that day. History mentions it in passing. Textbooks omit it. But the explosion of the Cabo Machichaco is the greatest civilian catastrophe in Spain in the 19th century, a tragedy caused by negligence, corruption, and silence, and yet forgotten. Half of Santander was wiped away, but the most painful part is that no one ever apologized. The Cabo Machichaco is not just a ship, it is the face of a tragedy that could have been prevented, an open wound, a nameless grave, a threat that many saw and no one stopped. And today, a fragment of its hull continues to rust beneath the water, silent, as if it knows that time does not bury everything, it only covers it. Let this story not sink, let it not rust at the bottom, because forgetting also explodes. How is it possible that an explosion with 600 dead is almost unknown today? My grandmother lived through it, and she never spoke of it without crying. The heroes of the Machichaco received no honors, they were buried in cement. If no one else will say it, we will. You are already subscribed to Spanish history. The ship burns, but memory cannot be erased. Every 3rd of November, history repeats itself.